Seems to be slow. Om Sadashiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Param Ishvaro Guratmeti Murti Veda Vibhagine Vyomabda Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Sava Vedanta Sedanta Gocharam Tamagocharam Govindam Paramanandam Satiguru Pranatoshmaham Om Shanti 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 Om Namaste. We begin today verse 7, page 1166, right, Lynn? For one who has mastered himself and who is tranquil, the supreme self, Ātma, is evident. This self does not change, it remains there, always the same, not subject to any modification or change, regardless of heat, cold, pleasure, and pain. The self does not change at all. It's the only never change, unchanging principle that allows us to capture change. The phenomenal meteor world is a world of constant change. This is one of the hints. If we want to do this discrimination, we just need to discriminate that with change from what does not change. Of course, most people are going to have difficult to understand that there is a principle that does not change. You know, they take themselves to be the mind, the intellect, and they feel that they are changing in any case. Let's assume that a person has integrated himself or herself, such a person who has attained self-management. Krishna calls Jivatma. Now, we are in the beginning of the chapter 6. It is on the topic of Upasana and Nididhyasana. And I don't know if we have already looked into the basic preliminary sadhanas, which at the end it resumes itself as karma yoga, and then we need to be able to have self effort and self control. So a person who has conquered the mind or take charge of the mind, educate the mind, is called Jivatma. Jiva means won over, controlled, managed, and what is managed? The Ātma, the self was managed. So it's a little interesting, this concept. Ātma here means body. Okay, now it's clear. Ātma here means body-mind complex. Okay, so basically, the Yanni is the one who has much better charge or control or mastery over the body, mind, sense, intellect complex. Okay, that's all there is. So Jivatma means the one who has learned the art of self-discipline, self-effort, self-integration, self-attunement, tuning the mind, the mind, so that the body mind, so that it can clearly understand, capture these final declarations of identity of the Upanishads. Self-orchestration, so very interesting term. So you need to integrate everything. Self-management, and therefore prasantasaya. How do I know how I have mastered myself? That's a good question. Krishna says that the more I win a victory over my latent negative tendencies, and the more my life is calmer. So how I have mastered my mind. So you should experience a better calm and pacified and resolved mind. Emotions should be calm as well. No? So this is a difficult test. Otherwise, my mind will be turbulent, and which I do not myself has any say at all. So Jivatma is prasantaha, purusha, and Krishna called such a person sadhana kautustaya sampanaha. Yana yoga in our terms, okay? Let's keep it simple. Such a person is a yana yogi, okay? He has been mastering the mind, and now he has, improved the mind to the extent that it can do the Shravana, Manana, and Nididhyasana, or more specifically, the Nididhyasana. So you need to go through a process of development, betterment, purification, that goes through disciplines and focus, emotional balance. So, and this is a yana yogi. Such a person is a yana yogi, which is not necessarily liberated. Liberation requires what? With regard to that, we do not compromise. Vedanta is really radical about that. Liberation requires knowledge, self-knowledge. No matter how purified, refined, equanimous, one may be, how saint one may be, if the person does not have self-knowledge, the person is still not liberated from samsara. So a person who has learned, managed himself, is now ready for what? For Vedantic inquiry, which is conducive to self-knowledge and then liberation. Until then, that person cannot benefit from the Vedantic inquiry. On the practical level, the person is not yet bearing the fruits of this process. Even Vedanta will not appeal. A person who is not ready very rarely is going to be attracted to Vedanta. Only when I have come to this stage of maturity, I will see Vedanta with great relevance and attraction. If the person is highly qualified, Vedanta is a walkover. The talk of the three types of mind, three types of intellect, and intellect which is like a coal. This is a nice analogy. An intellect which is like a plantain steam, and an intellect which is like a corpora, wood, comfort type. Suppose you have got these three things, only one of them catch fire like anything, which is the coal. If suppose you light a comfort, what happens? Immediately gets fire. When you light up a piece of coal, it takes a little time, but we get there. And if you try to light a branch of a banana tree, you're never going to get it to catch fire. So I know it from here, because we have so much of those things, but we can never put on the fire to make ashes, because they destroy the fire. So if the person is not at all qualified, there is no fire of knowledge that could light up the person. The Vedantic students are considered to be of three types before they can realize Aham Brahmasmi, and then the job is done. Tattvamasi, as present in the Kenos Upanishad, when a student came, heard the final declaration of identity, he stood up and walked off. The other students, while they're wondering why this guy just moved away, left the hall just when the class just began, the teaching has just started. It's because for the guy, that was enough. I remember Nisargadatta Maharaj telling a story of a guy like that. You know, the guy came, heard some of his pointers, strong statements, and then he had a very rapid interaction, verbal and intellectual, with Nisargadatta. And then he thanked Nisargadatta, he thanked the people in the room, and walked away and never came back. And then Nisargadatta said, oh, there goes a rare one. Okay. When the student is very difficult, no knowledge will trigger, anything in his intellect. So he could even affect the teacher negatively. So the teacher could even forget self-knowledge and moksha. But no joke. When I was beginning sharing this knowledge, especially there in India, sometimes there was some challenging people coming, and I was always shake at the beginning, for different reasons. I was always a little shake in regards to their criticism and in regards to their arguments, and so on. I was insecure. So if the self-knowledge is not really well established, it may make even the teacher to feel I have lost it, Right, Mark?
Well, I remember that guy I used to sit next to. He always used to sit next to me, and you said that to me. He disturbed me one day completely. And you said to me, oh, don't worry, he even disturbs me.
Yeah.
Gabriel was his name, I remember.
What was his name?
Gabriel, that Romanian
yes, I
guy.
remember Gabriel. Yeah. I have lost connection with him long ago.
Yeah, me too.
Therefore, Krishna says, for such a prepared student, the teaching is grasped right away. One line and that will do the job. What is the benefit? Jiva Mukti. Jiva Mukti is the benefit, self-knowledge. Therefore, Arjuna, where should you start? First, develop self-confidence, a good self-esteem, the confidence that you have an intellect that can make things, can influence your destiny, can really grow and develop. Never feel that you are in the hands of destiny or fate and nothing can be done because anyhow I have tried a few times and I can't control, my future and so on. So you need to get over that mentality. Yeah, you start there. First, developing this self-confidence, the confidence that I know how to use my intellect intelligently and to process spiritual growth. You have to start there, Swamijis. The future is not under my control completely, but I can positively influence it. My attitudes, words, and actions are going to influence my future either positively or negatively. I should accept that free will was given to me and I have that kind of responsibility now. Yeah, no, I don't want, I don't believe free will. Okay, watch out because Shwara is going to make you come as another kind of animal without free will if you refuse free will right now. The people who keep saying there's no free will, they should be concerned. And afterwards, I should develop self-confidence. And then later on, I should put forth the self-effort. And first stage of self-effort is to attunement of my own instruments, the mind being the coordinator of all these 5 sense instruments. And then things are going to be easy. This is going to be the development, the details of which we're going to see right now, right here. And then he begins again. In this sixth chapter, which is dealing with the topic of meditation, first Lord Shiv Krishna is talking about the general preparations, which boils down to the four disciplines which bring about, it begins with having equanimity, a balanced emotional mind during day-to-day transactions. We have seen this, that this ultimately, this is accomplished by becoming a karma yogi. We have only one mind. We have to take care of the mind while interacting or navigating the field of interaction. So if we don't, so we're going to have a mind who is totally kaput and disturbed when we come home to meditate. And then Upasana is going to be very difficult. If the mind reacts violent during the day, and then in the night, the mind will have those violent emotional impressions that are going to disturb it. They are going to be obstacles to one's Upasana. Therefore, you need to find a way to develop equanimity and avoiding violent reaction. This is the discipline which is one can maintain the samatvan, the equanimity of the mind, the balance of the mind, by following the karma yoga principles, which Krishna mentioned very nicely in the chapter 3. The second sadhana is the general discipline, is self-confidence. This is just another summary, yeah? Is self-confidence. So once we understood that we need to find a balance, and the best way to find that kind of equanimity in regards to what Shwara presents us from moment to moment is by being a karma yoga, understand the Shwara system and developing a certain attitude, either, at the moment that I receive my Parabhada, as well as when I put my actions and words in the field. The second sadhana is self-confidence. So I know everything now. You have to believe in yourself and say, no, I can do it. I will grow. Okay, I will grow as a good karma yogi. I will develop all the preparations, the qualifications needed for the final understanding. Because if a person does not have confidence, and then nothing else is going to help. So the most fundamental is self-confidence. Whether it's a grace of the Ishvara, or whether it's a grace of the teacher, or whatever, whatever grace will be of no use if the student does not have self-grace. Very nice, self-grace, self-confidence. I can follow the spiritual path and I will be able to progress. This is the attitude. I will do it. I will follow. I will understand more and more. And I trust in my intelligence, my free will, and in spite of all failures, I will always stand up and keep moving forward. This confidence, this faith is required, which is called Ātma Kripa. Therefore, the second sadhana is the development of self-confidence by avoiding those attitudes of victimization and impotence and so on. The third discipline Krishna talked about is self-effort. So once you understood, it's not enough to say, I can do it. When? Mañana. Now, you have to do it. The third discipline is self-effort. So if a person is fate-oriented person or destiny-oriented person, we cannot talk anything to that person because he's going to resign everything to destiny. The person will say, it doesn't matter. Swami Shimaya used to criticize people in India for this kind of attitude. If the Lord wants to get me this and that, the Lord is going to make it happen for me. If the Lord wants me to get moksha, so he's going to give me moksha. If God does not want it, no amount of effort is going to help. That's the attitude. Fatalism. This argument is very interesting because it makes the Jivatma impotent. If God has decided that I will get liberated, effort is not required. If the God has decided that I will not get liberation, efforts again are not going to be required. So it's just a way to give away our responsibility. We don't have total control, but we have a certain responsibility in regards to our future. Either way, we need to do, I didn't know. Okay. In fact, individual effort alone will help in tapping the grace of the Lord. And then he concludes the thing about grace. So grace needs to be earned, as James used to say, must be earned. So you need to tap into the Lord, so to invite his grace. The third value is self-effort, therefore. So poise of mind, self-confidence, and self-effort. So equanimity of mind, and then self-confidence that, I can do it, and self-effort. The fourth sadhana Krishna talked about is that self-management or self-mastery. So, and what do you mean by self-mastery? Every organ that's given to me is an instrument given by the Lord. The physical body is an instrument. The sense organs is another beautiful instrument. The mind is a wonderful instrument. And above all, my intellect is the most powerful and important instrument at my disposal. By using these instruments and tuning them, integrating them properly, like harmonizing them, I can have much success in life and as well as in my spiritual life. Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, all the four Purusharthas are accessible to me only if only I'm willing to take care of my instrument of knowledge, mastering, tuning, purifying, integrating its functions, making it to proper use, which requires first the organs should be healthy in themselves. An unhealthy body, an unhealthy mind, an unhealthy intellect cannot accomplish much. On the other hand, they will be a burden to me if they are not in good shape. We have a mind. Mind is the instrument by which we can live a good life or a bad life. We can enjoy whatever life we have here, or we can suffer. So the difference is in the quality of the body-mind sense complex. It's the same body-mind. It's our wisdom to understand that this primary instrument is the most important factor in experience freedom and happiness. If it's not in good shape, you can get the best possible circumstance around you, and still you're going to be complaining, right? Every organ should be healthy. Number two, all the organs must function in coordination, in harmony with one another. Otherwise, the effort of one organ will be neutralized by another organ. Imagine your intellect has decided to attend the class of Gita. This is a decision on the part of the intellect, and let's hope that it's a good decision. And then you have to come here. Now your mind should cooperate with it, which means you should have a relaxed mind, a no wandering mind, which is available behind the ears to listen the words. So your intellect say, now you go there, you're gonna you know, and then the mind in the background is trying to sabotage and then try to you know, to miss the train, the bus, to get late and not enter. And then you get there and the mind is gonna still be there wandering or nagging, whining. So the mind is rebelling against the decision of the intellect, you know. So these different functions need to be in harmony with one another, in coordination. So now, what is the problem? Intellect has made a decision, the mind is not cooperating. Okay, so we need to integrate these functions like an orchestra, you know, all the players and the instruments have to be tuned together in harmony with one another. This is self-mastery. It's a beautiful way to present self-mastery, because it's not only to master this or that sense organ, but make them working in coordination and in harmony with one another, so that there is no conflict there. You know, one sense organ wants one thing, another wants another. Krishna tells if these four sadhanas or disciplines or efforts are put, the spirituality will be for sure successful. So therefore, as we have seen, balanced, strong, mentally, psychological, emotional mind, which is also known as equanimous mind, which is easily accomplished by Karma Yoga, understanding the relationship with the Lord and the rules and principles, which belong to Ishvara, and so that I can receive what comes as prasad and offer my actions as worship to the Lord. Self-confidence, that has to be there, because it's not easy to be a Karma Yogi. It's a simpler science. I often present Karma Yoga as a science of meteor. It's the most tangible teaching of Vedanta. You know, although Ishvara from in the Vedantic sphere, you know, not sphere, in Vedantic from the Vedanta point of view, Ishvara is a very subtle principle, you know, this supreme intelligence and so on, but it is easily understood, and then the Jiva Ātma easily can grasp the relationship and the fact that Ishvara, as the totality of all factors, are in control of the results, but my actions count, and so on. So all of this understanding is relatively easy to gain, but then, you know, to have the self-effort and the self-mastery, not to kick and scream every time Ishvara gives you a bad parabada, you know, it's something else. You have to have self-effort to control those reactions. You cannot live a life complaining about God all the time and believing that you are a very highly spiritual being. Self-confidence, self-effort, self-mastery. So only then we can get equanimity as well. Self-mastery means body, mind, sense complex must be mastered by you. Therefore, Krishna tells in the 7th verse, which we are seeing right now, or last class, that suppose a person follows all these 4 principles, means Jiva Ātma, he has self-mastery. The one who is in charge of his life and so on. And as a consequence of that, what he's going to get? He's going to get, he presented here as Jiva Mukti, no? And the person whose mind is generally relaxed, which is free from violent turmoil, at the thought level, emotional level, which is free from stress and strain and extrovertedness, such a mind is called prasanta, which is also present as Jivamukti before. What is the advantage for such a person? No, Jivamukti, no, this is just a person who has prepared the mind for self-knowledge. Yeah, what is the advantage for him? For such a person, recognize the self, recognize the reality, it's very easy. So the person has prashantaha, which is preparedness. The person is ready because he can make use of the scriptures to his advantage. Knowing the Ātma as his own self is easy for such a person, easier than going anywhere in the world. So if you have to go to Badrinath, a lot of effort is required because it's very high and so on. Lots of problems to get up there. But if you want to get to the truth of yourself, it's very, very easy, but only if you are prepared, qualified, matured. The scripture reveals that self-knowledge is very easy. It's very easy. Why? Because self-knowledge is the knowledge of yourself as consciousness. And this consciousness is not something that come and go, that you need to seduce to be with you or do something to get a visit from consciousness. It's consciousness is that which is always ever available, revealing everything you experience as a human being. So therefore, it's very easy, but it's not easy. Yeah, as we often say, it's simple, but it's not necessarily easy due to excess of extrovertedness of the body-mind. If it will be something extraordinary, mysterious, transcendental, available only on a certain mental state, and then you have to produce that mental state, but every state they are changing according with the play of the gunas. So if it's something like that, we would say, no, it's really difficult. No? But no, if the scriptures are going to talk about something which is available only at a particular time, under a particular circumstance, then it is difficult. There are several mysterious experiences talked about which requires meditation and going to different levels of the mind and lokas and states and samadhis, you can experience those subtle dimensions. They talk about experience different lokas as well, how higher worlds, beings, devatas. All these states are not natural states, but if you work hard, you may get to them. So this is difficult. This requires a lot of effort. But as the Ātma, the truth, the scripture reveals, is not something available under, some spiritual, transcendental circumstance at a particular state or moment. So the Ātma is available at all times, at all states. As we know, we need to have altogether a calm mind, a contemplative, sattvic mind, to be able to understand, to capture and clearly understand that the self is that consciousness shining at all times. It's very simple, very simple. When it happened to me in my bedroom when I was living there in Olympia, Washington, I was like, oh my God, how could I not understand it before? Understand? It's not available only in a particular state. The Upanishads point out that the self does not require going to any state of mind. In any state of mind, you can understand it, but the catch here is that you need to have a good state of mind, a health state of mind, to understand this very subtle principle, which is always ever present, blessing you, enlivening you, and illumining your field of experience. So what is the self? is the conscious principle which is available in all states of mind, including deep sleep, whether I'm awaking, dream, or sleep, or in samadhi. It is, other people are going to say that is Turiya, the fourth principle, the fourth element within every one of those three states. Whatever be the state, Ātma is something which is available at all times. In what form it's available? It's available in the form of consciousness. It's available in the form of existence as well. And what we are asked to do, this consciousness is available all the time, along with my thoughts in the mind. Only thing we need to do is to turn our attention from the thought to the consciousness. So we are meditating, and then there are a lot of thoughts there. You know, I say, oh my God, the thoughts are a problem here, problem here. Oh my God, I'm thinking so much. I need to remove the thoughts of the mind, you know, no mind, no thoughts, you know. And then we say that all we need to do is to move our attention from the thoughts to the light of consciousness, illumining and revealing the thoughts. Yeah? The changing thought aspect of the mind to the changeless consciousness, which reveals the thought. Even now, as you are listening to the word, in your mind, there are two things playing. Yeah? The words in the mind, yeah, and consciousness. Thoughts are occurring. Every word is creating a thought in our minds here. And you are grasping the thought. You are understanding or not understanding the thoughts. You are accepting or not accepting the thoughts. But the thoughts are there. But in and through the variable thoughts, there is one non-variable constant principle. You can guess what that constant principle is. That is none other than you, consciousness, the consciousness principle. Because I am consciousness, I am conscious of the first thought, the second thought, third thought, and so on. Consciousness does not appear and disappear. Consciousness is not any thought, any kind of modified thought. Consciousness is not Aham Brahmasmi. Aham Brahmasmi is a statement which is a thought, concept, which is going to help us to claim that I am limitless consciousness. No? So consciousness does not need really thoughts, okay? Because it shines on its own in the absence of thoughts. So we should never get hooked or caught up with the thoughts of the notion of Aham Brahmasmi, okay? They are just pointers. The light that is pervading the whole, the people are coming and going, but in and through the arrival and departure of the people, there is a light, which is the common factor, the light that illumines the hand. As we know, we discount those things all the time. So consciousness is the light of the light. Consciousness is the space of the space. The space as well is always present, you know, accommodating any and all phenomenal object. The light as well. Consciousness is the light of the light, the space of the space. So we don't need to go any mysterious, transcendental, mystical state to recognize consciousness. In fact, going to these states, you know, is going to be more and more distraction. The fact that people are not satisfied with the ordinary awakened state and the objects experienced in the awakened state, the subtle one, it's an indication that they are not going to accept anything, even if it is an extraordinary state, mystical state, it's not going to be accepted. Because it's just going to give the person a vasana for more of that kind of objects, you know. The only thing required is turning the attention from the thoughts you experience in the world you experience to the consciousness, the revealing power. And when we talk about the hand and the light, and then we reveal to you that you are also experiencing the light, and then you say, oh, yes, so this is something new. I never experienced the light. No, you have experienced. You did not, acknowledge it. You understand? So you cannot say that, oh, yes, now I am experiencing consciousness. Now I can say, yes, there is consciousness illumining or pervading all my experience, behind the mind, behind the thoughts in my mind, behind the intellect. So you are not going to be experience anything new. You're just going to recognize and acknowledge, oh, yes, you have been here all the time, all along. And I was distracted by whatsoever you were illuminating and revealing. And I was missing on the most fundamental thing, which is consciousness, because that is my limitless true nature. Yeah? How can I miss on my limitless true nature and get caught up with this meteor world, this inferior nature of the body-mind and the objects perceived through the body-mind? Upanishad words are not going to introduce anybody to a new consciousness. Consciousness does not change. My words are only turning your attention to that which is already evident, self-luminous, ever evident light of consciousness principle. Which light is different? Which light is different from the hand? Similarly, Vedanta is not revealing a new light of consciousness. Vedanta is turning your attention so that you can recognize, acknowledge, and claim that as your real nature, because a lot of people have difficulty to claim. It's my understanding, it was my experience that I could understand that consciousness was there shining at all times. I was fascinated by this, but it took me a little while to understand that this consciousness is not something that that is happening within my body mind. I own consciousness, I am a body mind sense complex, and now I'm the enlightened one, and I have consciousness. No, I am consciousness, and this body mind sense complex is just incidental instrument through which I experience the meteor world. So this is every time ever evident, shining as the light of consciousness. And once I recognize that, I turn my attention and I say, wow, 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 wow. And then don't forget to not only recognize consciousness as something other than the mind, but to claim your identity in that consciousness. Otherwise, the job is not complete. You understand? In my day-to-day activities, my attention goes to the thoughts and the objects. I'm worried about the objects of desires and security. I have a lot of negative thoughts, positive thoughts. I need to turn my attention to not the particular thought in my mind, although in the beginning it's better to replace positive thoughts and negative thoughts with positive thoughts, but just as I mean to calm the mind, purify, improve the mind. But ultimately, you're going to turn your attention from the positive thoughts to consciousness. If your mind is negative, you need to replace those negative thoughts with positive thoughts. It's a basic ground work that needs to be done. Therefore, what is Vedanta? Switching my attention from the changing thoughts to the changeless consciousness. And this turning of attention is possible only when the mind is relaxed. Okay, now he's giving a hint. We say no. Once you recognize consciousness, you're going to recognize consciousness even when your mind is more rajasic and tamasic, because the knowledge is there, it's good at all times. But in order for you to recognize consciousness as the only ever-present principle not subject to change in time, you need to have a mind on a certain contemplative state. You know? Where I am. What's Vedanta? Shifting the mind from the consciousness. This turning attention is possible only when the mind is a bit relaxed, calm, worked, purified, refined, focused, you know, contemplative, sattvic. A calm sattvic, subtle mind, a mind which is turbulent and which is under the pressure of too much rajaguna or tamaguna. It's going to be bothered about the changing words and changing anxieties of the very mind. And your efforts to shift your attention from those concerning, fearful, worrying thoughts to consciousness is going to become almost impossible. Therefore, the first step is to improve the minds so that with a relaxed, calm mind, you're going to be able to shift your attention to the consciousness behind the mind. So and so, no? Quote unquote. A highly dynamic, rajasic, active, result-oriented, ambition, gripped mind wants to make use of every second to achieve some mundane things. That mind is not relaxed. So Vedanta requires prashantasaya. Prashantasya. Prashantasya. First of all, we should listen to the teacher. For that itself, you need a relaxed, focused mind, alert mind. An extrovert mind cannot listen. Krishna tells when the mind is relaxed. Krishna tells when the mind is relaxed. Paramatma, the self which is none other than the consciousness, and when does it obtain? Prachibodha vijitam matam. Kenopanishad beautifully says that the Ātma is evident at all times. You do not have to go to any special meditation class or state to experience the Ātma. I don't need to go to any special mental state to recognize the light in this room or the sunlight, because the light is experienced and in and through every experience, it is very ordinary. And that's why Ramji was inspired to use that word, ordinary consciousness. Similarly, the consciousness does not require any special state of mind or any special meditation. It's all the time available. And then he just play, and he says that when the mind is really relaxed and you ask someone, so can you see consciousness? When is consciousness available for you right now? You say, oh, well, tell me a moment that it's not available. It's shining at all times. So in fact, missing the self requires effort. That's why he used the expression samahitaha, means very, very clearly evident. But the mind needs to be calm, tranquil, and purified to the extent that it can contemplate on these teachings and understand its reality. And this recognition has to be done in 2 stages. This is interesting as well. The first stage is turning the attention from thoughts to consciousness, like turning the attention from the hand to the light. Similarly, in our mind, change thoughts are there, changeless consciousness is there. Vedanta is shifting attention from the changing world of thoughts and objects to the changeless witness consciousness. This is the first stage, as I was just mentioning. The second and more important one is what? Is not only recognize consciousness, but claim it to be my true nature. So when I recognize consciousness, turning my attention to consciousness, my tendency will be to say that I am the body-mind, and I have found consciousness, I have consciousness here. Consciousness is something other than my mind, and then subconsciously, I will start believing that consciousness is a byproduct of the body-mind complex, okay? This is our initial approach. We see consciousness still, we recognize, we identify it in our human experience, but we still see it as an object, and we don't identify as my very nature as this witnessing conscious entity I am. I keep the notion that I am the body-mind and I have got some consciousness here. Vedanta says that you have to train your mind to reverse that approach. Instead of saying that I am the body-mind complex and I have consciousness, I should do what? I should reverse that and claim that I am consciousness principle and the body-mind complex is an incidental instrument at my disposal. This is the biggest shift and the most important shift, because after all, self-knowledge is a shift of identity, not a shift of experience. You need to identify with consciousness rather than enjoy consciousness as something other than yourself, which does not change, which is there, gives you beautiful moments and states, but still you're going to feel that consciousness is coming and going. Meditation is meant for this particular shift alone. So the Nididhyasana at the very end is just about claiming that I understood consciousness. I understood it to be the only reality, meaning to say that which is always ever present, never subject to change. I have it working here, going for me, keeping me alive. But still, I need to just change my orientation, and say, I am consciousness. And this body-mind is just an instrument. Consciousness is not part, product, or property of the body. Consciousness is an entity distinctive from the body and the mind, which pervades the body-mind. Consciousness is not bound by the dimensions or the content of the body-mind. Consciousness survives even after the body dies, okay? And the survived consciousness cannot transact. Therefore, if we want to transact, we need the instrument for transaction, which is the body-mind. Consciousness without the instrument for transaction cannot transact. But consciousness is not absence, it's there. But without the medium, it cannot transact. All there is this. This is the description of our true nature as consciousness. I was talking to someone over the WhatsApp. It's my friend there from California, and his wife, which was my first wife, she's having some challenge, and then they were all freaked out. All freaked out. And then things were not as serious as it seemed, and they somehow gave her some medication, and she went back home, and now they are not freaked out anymore. And then he said, wow, it makes us really feel how fragile life is and how precious life is, in those moments, I can really value life. I hear those things, I say, oh, it does not sound really right from the Vedanta standpoint, because you say that life is so precious, and so is it really, really, really so precious? It's only precious to the extent that you can have self-knowledge, but if you are totally attached to this meteor world of objects, you're going to be attached to experiencing this meteor world of duality. Understand? And then of course, you have to say it's very precious. Why? Because you have this huge vasana for duality, experience the world of objects of meteor. You know what I'm talking about? Because wise people do not feel that way. That, oh, life is so precious. Indeed. It is precious if you can extract self-knowledge out of these interactions, which are very tough and difficult interactions in samsara, But people say, oh, life is so wonderful and precious, and I am so fragile, and you think that they are just saying, oh, I value life, and no, you value your likes and dislikes, your vasanas, and the attachment to what you want and do not want, and you want experience, you want duality. Don't worry, you're gonna get another instrument sooner or later, and then you come back. No, the survival consciousness cannot transact without a body-mind instrument. This is the description, and this we can easily know through the day-to-day experience also. During sleep, we exist, but we do not transact. But the end of transaction is not the end of my existence. This is a very simple hint, So I'm so well when I'm not transacting. So what is the deal of having so much fear for no transaction? You go through no transaction every night, but I go there, but I know that transaction comes back, duality comes back again, and I can't live without experiencing duality. But how so? You are there without transacting and you are doing so well. Why this fascination with experience, pleasure and pain, pain, pleasure, pleasure, pain. You what an obsession. So you sleep every day, there is no transaction, you're at peace. You don't lose your existence when there is no duality. The end of duality, the end of transaction is not the end of your existence. Existence, your very nature, is the existence of everything there is in this meteor universe. What will happen? During sleep, I'm dead. But I know during sleep that I will come back to life. I'm very much alive, even though I do not do any transaction. Extend this to the depths of the body and say it's just a longer sleep. No, I'm just, I want this, but this body, it's already 80, 90 years old, no, I believe that I'm going to get another body and so on, but it's so familiar, this old physical instrument of experience, that I don't want to let it go. Attachment, misconceptions. After death also, I do not transaction, but I remains as the existence, pervading my subtle body, my causal body, my individual soul deprived of a physical instrument of experience. I exist all the time. That is the hard thing for people to understand. My nature is existence. I never run out of existence. Understand? That is the only. The understand your nature as consciousness is very important and beautiful. But understand your true nature as existence, it's more liberating than anything. Because when you know that you are the existence of everything, you don't bother to lose the existence of this or that instrument of duality, of experience. I exist all the time. With transaction, I exist. Without transaction, the deep sleep, I exist. And when I lose this physical body, I continue to exist. Shwara may give me another instrument. Of course, they give to everyone wanting to experience more transaction. But some people comes to the point say, no, thank you, Shwara, don't take me bad. I'm not trying to insult you, but I'm done. I'm done. Transactions come and go. Transact instrument come and go. I am consciousness. I am the existence. I am eternally existing, unaffected by the superimpositions we call the Mithya world of duality. Okay, my friend, sorry, maybe I was a little bit, how you say? How do we say? When you make jokes like that? Please help me. My English is not good today.
You mean facetious?
No, it's a little bit like
Come on, Mark.
make some jokes which are a little bit like at the edge, you know.
Oh,
I forgot. You remember, Silvio?
No.
Okay. If I remember, I put this word there, you know.
I appreciate your humor with whatever flavoring.
Okay. Thank you. Sarcastic. Is that correct, Mark? Is it a good word?
Yeah. Well, I didn't think you were being sarcastic too much. I thought you were pushing the boundaries a little bit, but it wasn't so much sarcastic, I didn't think.
Okay.
But was good fun, Arlindo. I really enjoyed it. So thank you.
Okay. Okay, so we go back to Manduka this coming Monday and Tuesday. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishate. Om Shanti 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 Om. Namaste, my dear friends.
Thanks, Arlindo.
Thank you. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Lynn. Thank you, Sylvia.
Okay, thanks, Arlindo.